Well, I am delighted to be here with a very special lady, the first time on my channel, Lynn Matthews. Now, some of you might recognize the surname because I have had Lynn's daughter, Danielle, on my channel in various different capacities quite a few times, and we're really good friends. But I've wanted to speak to Lynn for quite some while because Lynn, you're going to tell us a bit about yourself in a minute, but you and I share so many different things in common in terms of our long-term love for holistic therapies, holistic products, and helping people and animals as naturally as we can. So thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's such a pleasure to finally meet you in person, so to speak.
I know, isn't it going to be lovely when we can actually be there face to face? So before we kick off, could you tell my viewers a little bit about yourself and your passion for holistic health?
Sure, sure. And it actually came about in a funny way. I grew up in Virginia. Like Danielle, I went to the University of Virginia, and at the time I was studying languages and realized my last year I didn't want to do anything with languages. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And computers were just coming into being. We didn't have personal computers, there was no internet, nothing like that. I'm dating myself big time, but
I'm with you there. Yeah.
okay, good.
Yeah.
But computer languages were being taught at UVA. So I took the languages programming because to me it was just another language. And when I got out, I actually went into the field of IT before it was a field because they were looking for math majors, language majors, and music majors. And I did that for a few years, but it just wasn't speaking to my soul. I had my two children, Danielle and her sister, and was fortunate enough to be able to stay home. And that's kind of when I dipped my toe into being an entrepreneur. I started a consulting firm where I could still do computer things, but while I was raising my daughters. And at the end of college, I had had a major back surgery. My back was fused. And at first it was fine, but after having kids and as I was moving through life, I started to have some significant health challenges with my back and all my other joints, because you know this from being in health. Anytime you fuse a part of your body, other parts of your body have to compensate.
Absolutely.
And so I started to have chronic issues, which I dealt with swimming. And then one of the people I was working with, an osteopath, told me to try yoga. And I had never done yoga. Again, this was before yoga was as popular as it is now. It was not in any gyms. There were maybe one or two studios in a 30-minute radius. And I tried it. I was very fortunate because my very first teacher was all about therapeutics and really helped my back. And as I started to take these classes, I became fascinated by the whole idea, not just yoga, the physical yoga, but the whole philosophy behind it. This idea that, the body could heal itself, and mind, body, spirit. That was totally foreign to me. My dad was a Western trained physician, and that was kind of the world I had grown up in. Although I had kind of explored aromatherapy and some Ayurveda on my own, this was really the first time that I was learning these age-old, many thousand-year-old traditions that talk about how intelligent the body is, if you will. And so I decided to dive into it. I actually became a yoga teacher. I opened my own yoga studio in Annapolis, Maryland. And we focused a lot on therapeutics and therapy. Because of that, and this all ties back into Asea, everything in life happens, right, for a reason when it happens, and it kind of comes back around, which I love. But I started to work with a lot of practitioners in the area, whether it was chiropractors, osteopaths, homeopaths, acupuncturists. We started to share a lot of students and clients back and forth, and a lot of friendships developed out of that. Ultimately, I sold my studio and started to work. I partnered with a college and brought my trainings there and started to teach a lot of stress awareness workshops. Because I think even now, you and I both know stress, we always hear stress is a killer, but I think we hear it so much, people, it just kind of doesn't really sink in what that really means and how stress really impacts our lives and can set the stage for a lot of health challenges in the future, things that are brewing beneath the surface that you don't even realize. until they become something.
Yeah.
And one of the teachings in some of the yogic philosophy that I had studied and teach is something called, stress producing mental tendencies. So a lot of my workshops were about these stress producing mental tendencies. So it was really a lot of fun doing that. And about that time, I had gone back to get a master's, and that is when Danielle was hit by a drunk driver. So all of these things that I had been doing played such a key role in helping her with her journey, because I had this huge list of people, these practitioners who could help me try to find modalities that might help her. And as many of your viewers probably know, because you have had her on a number of times, we tried so many things. I mean, we were doing yoga nidra a lot. We were doing different modalities with acupuncture and neurobiofeedback and all these different things. And some of the modalities helped a little, but it never helped in a way that gave her life back fully, where she could live fully. Some of the things that she was dealing with, and I'll never forget, after the first year, the neurologist telling us that, get used to her new normal, that her brain has done all its healing. And to this day, I'm just astounded that someone would say that.
Yeah.
Number one, would say it to anyone, but to a 24-year-old who's got her life ahead of her, because we know there's so much with hope and mindset, all of that plays into you being able to heal. And so at that time, she was still sleeping 18, 20 hours a week. She was still having trouble with finding words. Her personality had changed. She still had significant migraines, anxiety, depression, all these things. So I kept looking, and it was actually 2 years after her accident, still teaching, still in school, that one of my students, it was actually a yoga nidra student who was an acupuncturist, who told us about Asea. And so it always fascinates me, because no one had heard of Asea. My dad had not heard of Asea. And as I look back at these three, call them career paths, if you will, I have to smile, because I've always been fortunate enough to be like right on the cutting edge of a new technology. I was in IT before they even had computer science majors, starting in yoga before yoga was everywhere. And Asea, before most people know about Asea. So many people, I'm sure you've had the same thing. Well, why doesn't my doctor know about it? But what all of that taught me is that just because you haven't heard of it, don't dismiss it. And I think that's why I was so open when this person brought Asea to us. I did not dismiss it. I really thought, this could really be something. What if it's the missing link? And that's one of the things I try to explain to people who are kind of like, well, why haven't I heard of this? But that might be more than you wanted to know, but that is what got me where I am now. I still train yoga teachers, but really my passion and where more of my time goes is educating people about this incredible molecular technology that we have that is just changing how we can approach health and vitality.
It's absolutely wonderful, because I love, when I've spoken to Danielle, she approached me 3 years ago, and at that stage my father was terminally ill. I was in the middle of selling one of my natural products company and things, so it was just, I couldn't take on anyone else, so I left it. And then through another mutual friend, we get Jay and April, we get back in contact again. And then we're like, oh, wow, we did actually connect 3 years ago. But timing is everything. And so many people who watch my channel, they're an incredibly informed audience, and they've done so much self-development work themselves. But excuse me. But I think this is the fascinating thing. It's like the saying to me is like, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. And that really comes in, it's all about divine timing and when you're ready for it in whatever stage of your life. And some people like to look at these things proactively, and other people take a major life event to sort of really search and try anything else. And it must have been absolutely terrible for you as a mother to see your daughter going through that. I'm just about to have my nice mood one now. I'll be stirring that in whilst you're talking. I mean, we've heard from Danielle's side, and anyone who hasn't seen those, I will put the playlist below. But as a mother, to see your vibrant young child to be going through this, absolutely horrendous for you and the rest of the family.
It was, and I don't until you've gone through it, and I've worked with a lot of people now. We all have a very special place in our heart for brain injury. And I've talked to so many people because when it's like the invisible injury, because even my family members say to me, why isn't she working? She looks fine.
Yeah.
Right. Because you look fine. It's your brain that's been just completely disrupted. So nothing in your life is the same. And that was the hardest struggle for her and for us as parents, was that she would be, she could see who she is in the mirror, but she wasn't who she was because her brain wasn't working that way. It wasn't working like it used to. And so you feel lost. And that's why Yoga Nidra, I think, was really important, but also her cognitive therapist was phenomenal. We had a gratitude journal, and that we started to, when we got it for her, on random pages, I would write different quotes from different people. And then she started to write in it each day, just find one thing to be grateful for. And I think if people understood the power of gratitude and just the power of finding one little thing in your life that's good, and it could be just the way the sun is hitting the dew on the grass, sparkling like diamonds, that brings a smile to your face. Anything that starts to take you from kind of being lost in this whirlpool of thoughts because you can't control certain parts of your life. And that really helped when we started to do things like that. But it was a long 2 years. We weren't sure because we had tried, I'll tell you, Catherine, we tried dozens and dozens of things. Literally for that first year, we were going to somebody every single day of the week. Sometimes we had 2 appointments. And we began to wonder, was she ever going to, pardon me, let me turn that off. Was she ever going to recover? Was she ever going to be able to be out on her own, thriving, working again? Because it was, any input was too much stimulation for her brain.
Yeah.
And so to this day, when I'm in my morning, when I'm doing all of the things I'm grateful for, the acupuncturist that told us about Asea is right in there, because I don't know if we would have heard about it otherwise. It's always someone who cares about you or thinks about you that brings it to you, because of the way the company brought it to the world. They turned down the pharmaceutical company and then had to figure out a way to get it out to all of us. And because of the simplicity of its ingredients, which doesn't mean it's a simple product, right?
Yes,
but it's basic ingredients. You can't just put it on a shelf at a health food store. It really needs some explanation. And so I will be eternally grateful to Diana for telling me about this, even though, as your audience probably knows, Danielle was super skeptical at first, and it took her a few months, but it is what turned her life around. And I think it has just been a godsend. It's been a blessing in our lives, and it's empowered us and enabled us to then share this with the world. It almost becomes I won't say obligation, because that's a strong word, but it certainly has made us passionate that people need to know about this.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I've got so many questions around there, so let's go through some of them. I mean, one of the things that a lot of people who try this, everyone's trying it for a different reason. So, some people are sports professionals, some people are looking to use it preventatively and stop problems developing. Other people have got quite serious challenges that they're working through in all different areas. And some people have miraculous results really quickly, and some, like Danielle, it takes quite a long while before they notice a difference. Now, this can be really, really hard on people, because they're sitting there listening to, it's a bit like when you first start meditating and manifesting, all these things. Some people have miraculous results straight away, and others, it's much more of a slow burn. What would you say to people, having been through this so personally with Danielle, and I'm sure that some of the other people, because you've helped so many people now over the years, what would you say to those people that aren't noticing immediate results?
Be patient and trust your body. Your body is so intelligent, and it has its own agenda. And that's what I found out, for myself personally, when Danielle didn't want to do this, I had the product and I thought, well, I'll try it, because at the time I had very serious issues with my hands. I couldn't make a fist. I wasn't even thinking about the chronic issues with my back and the other joints. That didn't even enter my mind because this was so front and present.
Yeah.
It took 6 weeks before I could make a fist. But what we know is that from the moment these molecules touch the inside of your mouth, they go immediately into the bloodstream and they shift things in your blood. And none of us are going to feel that, right? There are a couple people, I think, who are very tuned in energetically, energy workers, who have told me they felt something.
Yeah.
But very few of us are that sensitive to things happening literally at a molecular level. And that's why it's so important to work with the person that's sharing this with you. This is not a one size fits all. Everybody does the same thing. You know, I'll grab a case and see what happens. The person who introduced you to it has worked with it for a while, and they're here to be with you on that journey and to be a mentor to you and to help you understand how to take it, what's happening, et cetera. And I think that really sets this whole company apart, because it is such a community of caring people that want you to get the benefits you're seeking. So the health assessment form that you're given is really important, because it's little things over time that are shifting. You might have something big that you want to see change and you're not seeing it change, but just know that there are little things shifting in your body from the moment that you take it. And these have been shown in studies, you know, with like live blood cell microscopy and things like that, but things that we don't have access to in our house to see what our blood's doing right in 10 minutes. So be patient. If you're not noticing anything or you're not seeing what you want after a week, double it.
Yeah.
You know, you can double it, and then another week later, if you're not seeing anything, go to 12 ounces. There's no danger in taking more, but patience is really important. There's a gal who was one of the first people in the company. She had broken her back. She had a lot of back discomfort because of that. It took over 9 months before that back discomfort went away. But from the very beginning, she understood what it was doing, and she was sharing it with people and watching what other people were experiencing before she got her own experience. People are always asking, you know, what are the big things you're seeing? To me, it's as profound, the little things that are coming back into balance for people. Being able to sleep more deeply. Sleep is key for health. And I think it's over 60% of women, at least in the United States, suffer from chronic insomnia. That's really terrible for your health, because it's in your sleep that you're replenishing and your body is rejuvenating itself, right? It's regenerating itself. So if you're not sleeping, or your sleep is disrupted, that is going to compound, and at some point in time, there's going to be something very negative happening at a health level. And one of the things we know with redox molecules, one of the pathways that they impact is the circadian rhythm, which is your natural rhythm for sleep and wakefulness.
I love it. One of the lovely holistic vets that works with Asea that I listen to, who does the animal stuff, I can't remember his name, but I'm going to contact him because he is amazing. Now, I know we've got to be very careful with words, but it's like your body hasn't forgotten how to repair itself. It just hasn't been given the tools to do so. And as a biologist and a holistic therapist, and having had my own natural products, so what I love is I work, Lynn, with something called zoopharmacognosy, which is animal self-medicating. So using herbs and essential oils and natural products of any sort, but instead of the human thinking that we know which liver herb, which essential oil for this, we work with the animal parent to teach them how to offer them and let the animals select, because that's what they do in the wild. And what I love about that is they will select in the order that their body innately knows, mind or body, that it needs to heal in, not in the order that the owner thinks that they need to heal in. And this is exactly the same way as the way Asea works, because you might have several things that you're working on, but your body innately knows which it needs to tackle first. And that, what I love is there is a lot to learn with the Asea to really understand how it's working. Now, I love that because that's what I'm passionate about, but it can be a little bit overwhelming at first for people. But what I say is the more you understand how it works, the more that you've got that faith that it's doing what it needs to be doing, and just you've put the intention in there, you're giving it the help, and then sit back and let it happen.
Absolutely. And you're right. The body the body is intelligent,
Mm.
and it it sometimes forgets because the signal's not there,
Yeah.
right? Like a certain, maybe it's a pancreas cell, maybe it's a heart cell, maybe it's a liver cell, that through either getting older, or maybe you've had a lot of stress in your life, maybe you've been exposed to a lot of environmental toxins. There's a lot of different reasons why suddenly the signals are not as loud as they were when we were younger. And when those signals aren't as loud, you're right, the body, different cells they lose their intelligence, if you will. It doesn't mean it can't be recovered, because once you can replenish these signals, all of a sudden they're like, oh, I remember, this was my role, this was my job. And they start to do what they were meant to do. And that's why you see things come back into balance. And even Western doctors said, they've seen challenges that they never thought in their lifetime they'd see turn around,
Absolutely.
suddenly turning around when people just increase their redox potential, and that signal is loud enough for the immune system to say, wow, there's a lot of fires going on in this body. Where do we need to tackle them? Which fires do we need to put out? And I work with Dr. Carolyn Hoffman.
Oh, she is amazing,
She
isn't
is
she?
amazing. And
Oh,
she said something the other day that I had not thought about. She said, because someone had asked, well, something came into balance, and then I backed down, and all of a sudden it came back again. Why was that? And she said, it's just like if you've got a campfire, you douse it with water, you walk away. But if you didn't get every little ember in there, the fire's going to come back. So until you have enough to completely get that signaling back to where it was, so that that organ is acting like it did, that's why we say, increase, get to the health you want, and then slowly go back to maybe 6 ounces. Wait there for a month or two. Make sure that you're still at that level where you're thriving. Or do you have to go back up to 8? If you're thriving, go back to 4. It's every body is different. It's like a thermostat you're setting for your body. And you've got to figure out, once the challenges that you want to see come back into balance do come back into balance, then where's your sweet spot?
absolutely. And also, I don't know about you, Lynn, but I change it based on what I'm doing. So, for example, I've had to make a few trips up to London, and I'm a country bumpkin. I live in the middle of the woods, and it's amazing. But when I go up to London, I double my dose straight away, because I know on a physical level, but also for me, I find it quite stressful being in big cities. I just don't like it. I know on an emotional level as well. So luckily, once you start tuning in like that, if you're pre-warned that there's a stressful event, or if something unexpected happens, you can just whack it up for a short term to give your body that extra support. Now, for people that are sitting on the fence, that have like, yeah, I've heard this, but I've heard so many miracle cures, every person is talking about their miracle cure, their miracle supplement. What would you say to people that have got that mindset? Because I completely get it, because there is so much out there.
There is a lot out there. And a couple of things, depending on what it is that is causing their hesitancy. If it's, because it sounds too good to be true, look at the research. There's so much research now that wasn't there before, whether it is the research done specifically on Asea's redox molecules, or just in the field of redox. This is a huge medical and scientific field, and literally millions of papers have been written about it. So sometimes you have to connect the dots, because the papers that are written aren't on Asea specifically. A few are, but most of them are the research being done on redox in the
Yeah.
body, and with different diseases or with different things. And so once you see that all this research is being done, and then you understand that what's inside the blue bottle is redox molecules, you can just kind of start connecting the dots. So if that's the reason that you're on the fence, absolutely go out there and research. And the person that you're hearing this from, and Catherine certainly has, we have a lot of resources that you can look at. If it's because there's so many other things out there and you're doing all these different things, just remember that what's happening at the molecular level sits below everything else. When Danielle had her brain injury, she was on probably $500 worth of supplements a month.
Yeah.
Were they doing anything? Maybe. Nothing that we could see. It wasn't mitigating any symptom that we could see. Maybe it was helping her adrenals, but that was not something that we could see that was allowing her to be vibrant again and live back in the world again. And so even though those were prescribed to us and they were supposed to be doing good things, we didn't notice anything. And I think people are taking a lot of different things that they may or may not know if they work. So this sits below nutrition. It sits below supplements. This is literally how the body speaks to the immune system, how the cells talk to each other, how the cells know what they are. You know, how does a brain cell know it's a brain cell? How does it know what enzymes to produce, et cetera? That conversation is going on all the time. And I think when you understand that this is why this is so different, I would invite you to try this. You have nothing to lose. It's one of the only things out there that can't hurt you because it's already in you. And I think that's another thing that makes it a little bit different. You just have to take that leap of faith. You know, for me, just intuitively, I trusted the person that brought it to me. I did not do a lot of research initially because I knew I had that trust with the person. It wasn't until I started to see results and my husband started to see results that we started doing a little bit of research. And then once Danielle had that recovery, we were like, what have we come across? And that's when we really kind of dove into more the science, if you will.
Yes.
But if you're on the fence, think about what it is you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, are you looking to be proactive with your health? Are you looking because you have a health challenge? Are you looking for someone else? And then it really is, Catherine. It's a leap of faith. This company would not be around for 13 years if there wasn't a lot to this.
Yes.
There are 5 Nobel Prizes that have been awarded in redox research. And I think part of the hesitancy with people on the fence is because no one's heard of the term redox, or very few people have. It is.
And also, do you think, Lynn, because it's so difficult, we're so limited because it's not a pharmaceutical product, everyone watching this, luckily my listeners are very well educated on this, but they know that you're so limited about what you can actually say and how you can say it. So it's really hard for people. But I agree with everything you said. And as someone that I love essentials. I've got over 200 essentials here. I love herbs. I love clays. I love grounding. I love light therapy. I love all these different healing modalities, frequency healing. However, this is so foundational because if at a cellular level, the beauty of every living thing, not just humans, but not forgetting our animals, our plants, every living being is regenerating new cells all the time. And unfortunately, for most of us who are living in the modern world, we are subjected to a lot of challenges on an ongoing basis, which is why, for me, this is a lifestyle change about taking back the power, because it's not something you take for 1 or 2 months and then say problem sorted, because the next day more cells are dying off and more replacing. And are you still being subjected to those challenges? If so, we need to give our bodies that helping hand to sort of keep up with those.
I think that's beautifully said. We know that our cells are breaking down every moment of every day. It's just part of living on planet Earth, right? And this happens from the time you're a baby until your last breath. And that's the role of redox, is to be able to detect and repair and replace any of that damage. So when the immune system comes down, if the cell can be repaired, it repairs it. If it can't, it kills it off and replaces it with a healthy cell. And this is happening unbeknownst to us. If it wasn't, what science has told us now is none of us could live more than a few minutes without redox molecules. The challenge is, as we get older, once we hit puberty, we don't produce as many. It's just part of aging, which is natural. But the second part of that challenge is, like you said, we're living in the modern world now where there are more stressors than there were even 50 years ago, 100 years ago. The soil's not as rich as it was with nutrients. So even the makeup of the cells and the stability of their health is impacted by the food we eat, even if we try to eat organically. You know, the environment, the impact of that, just living with the stressors of the world, all of that impacts our body's innate ability to replace and repair these cells as the damage is happening. So to have a way now to replenish this dwindling supply of redox is really not only life-changing, but it's truly a breakthrough. And there are so many scientists calling this, the greatest health science breakthrough of our lifetime, because for the first time ever, we're addressing health at the root, at the molecular level, at the cellular level. I've studied Ayurvedic medicine for years and have taught it in my teacher trainings. And one of the things that fascinated me, they always talked about this analogy of a plant or a tree, and that usually Western medicine, we're working on the leaves, right? We're working on all the symptoms without getting to the root. And you could spend a lifetime working on each of those leaves and each of the different things. But if you can address it at the root, you're going to have this change in all of the leaves. And these redox molecules are giving us the ability to address health and vitality at the root. So, and that's why we're seeing so many things, because I think, again, to your point about people being on the fence or thinking it's too good to be true, it's like, why is it helping such a wide breadth of things? And it's because we're addressing it at the root. It's at the cells, and every cell uses the same redox molecules. It doesn't matter if it's a skin cell or a brain cell or a heart cell. There's not different redox molecules in all those. They're all the same. So when you replenish them, it's non-specific, if you will. It's not targeted, is the word that they've been using now in all the science, in that it doesn't mean it's not targeting problems. It means that it's going everywhere and then determining which of those places need it the most.
Absolutely.
And I think that's fascinating.
I just love it. I love feeling the energy behind it all. But the one thing I would say to people, I mean, Lynn and I aren't here to convince anyone. We're here to offer solutions so that if there's a time in your life where you or a loved one of whatever species needs some extra support, you'll know where to come. You'll have heard about it. But one of the things I absolutely love about the company that speaks for itself is you've only got to have a look at how many amazing health professionals there are, either on the human or the animal side of things, that are not only incorporating the Asea into their businesses, but also voluntarily giving up their time on an advisory role to spread this word at no benefit themselves. So when we look at a lot of the people that I've had come on my channel and talk to my listeners, they're not getting any benefit financially from doing this. And that to me just shows where the heart of the matter is. We talk a lot in the current times about how the current agendas, they're breaking down the connection. They're breaking down the connection within families, within communities, with nature, with other living species. And actually, there's a lot of, well, let's tackle the sort of elephant in the room. There's sort of multi-level marketing, the network marketing. There's a huge amount of distrust into that. But you touched on this at the start, Lynn, about how, because it's not simple, you can't pick up a bottle like my gorgeous peppermint essential oil here and get it. It does need quite a lot of explanation. So it needs a different way to get it to market. Have you got any advice for people that's putting them off?
Yes. This was my first adventure in the network marketing industry. And I remember when I first went out and met the founder of the company and some of the scientists, and a lot of those questions came up. And he said, when I turned down that check from the pharmaceutical company, because they basically told him anybody he had on it had to come off it, including himself, and he had to kind of walk away. He had started a focus group of friends, neighbors, church members, people he knew who had health challenges, because anytime you have a new product, you want to see if the market's going to drink it, right? Especially if it maybe didn't have a great taste all the time, because the taste can vary per person. And so he had this group of 40 people. They had unlimited access to it. And when he went back after 2 months, that 40 people had turned into 120 people in a couple dozen countries, because these people were seeing significant shifts in their health and were giving it to friends and family, which is what we tend to do, right? When something we find we love or helps us, we tell people we care about it. So when he turned down the pharmaceutical company because they were going to basically put it on a shelf and not let it be available to the public, he had to figure out how to bring it to market. And this was a gentleman who was the vice president of international strategy for a Fortune 50 company. So he was a big corporate guy. He knew how to bring products to market. He knew all the different distribution channels, but he also knew, like you and I have both said, this requires education, not only because of what the ingredients say, but also because most people don't know what the word redox means or what it is. I always think about the antioxidant world and how 30 years ago, none of us, unless we were a scientist or a medical professional, most of us did not know what an antioxidant was. And it took years before people kind of understood what it was. So he was thinking the same thing. People don't know what redox is. He believes, and I do as well, redox will be a word that we all know, but we're so at the front edge of this that many people don't know. So he realized it had to have some education. And he was actually very much against network marketing because of the connotation, the reputation that many companies have in that space, where it's people who say, okay, I want to do a network marketing company. What product can I sell? Let's go make some money. And then they disappear, either because they've got corruption at the top or whatever reason. So as he was investigating it, I have been told that he went to the Harvard Business School to a gentleman who was teaching an entrepreneurship course. And in that course, they discussed the pure model of network marketing. And when he understood what it was supposed to look like, he said, this is the best way to bring it to market, because it allows you to not only share experiences, but educate people. And he said, but we are going to be completely transparent, and we're going to raise the standard for that industry. And I believe that's what they've done. You know, this company has such incredible ethics and morality behind it. The culture in the company is remarkable, I think. They want to be a legacy company, which you don't see a lot. And I think that's one of the negative aspects people see with network marketing, is they're oftentimes a flash in the pan and then they're gone. And a lot of people get hurt in the meantime if they've joined that company. Every decision they make is to stay a legacy company. You know, they've built a solid foundation and a base. They actually slowed down opening in different countries so that they could get the facility, the redox facility, built out and built in such a way that they can double production and double what they have within 2 weeks. So they were creating all of this infrastructure first, because Vertus Norton said he wanted this to be his legacy to humanity. Wow. So I think that speaks volumes. And the fact that he turned down a very, very large offer from that pharmaceutical company because he saw it helping people. They are all about bettering people's lives and being a force for good in the world. That is their mission statement. And I've just watched that over the 9 years, them doing and making decisions to perpetuate that. So I understand where people are coming from. I hadn't had any negative experience, but because of society and the way people talked, it was just this negative thought in my head, even though I had nothing to back it up, you know. But having worked with them now 9 years, it's remarkable. And when somebody says, well, isn't it a pyramid scheme? You have to remember that pyramid schemes were Ponzi schemes decades ago. And there was no viable product. Nothing was being exchanged. People were just paying in money, and only the people at the top. That's why it became illegal. A true network marketing company is not, it's designed so that anyone can succeed. And you've got this incredible product with Asea that is helping people around the world. And that's why if it was a pyramid, only the people at the top would be succeeding.
Absolutely.
But if you look just within my own organization, I brought Danielle in. Danielle is above me as far as, you know, the rank she has achieved. So anyone, to me, it's more like a web or like dropping a stone into water and watching it ripple out, because you can connect in at any part of that web and you can create as big or small impact as you want.
I love it. And for me, I was very resistant to that just because of, you know, time and things like that. But the one thing I would say to everyone, and I have to thank Jay and April for this, is to really important for anyone looking at this to completely separate the product from the way it's brought to market, because no one, you can use the product and not have anything to do with the business side of things. That's a complete choice. The beauty is, unlike going to buy something from your local health food store, you do have the choice to benefit from it if it's something you're passionate about and that's what you want to do. So don't ever let that put anyone else off, because the one thing I can guarantee is no one's going to pressurize you. You know, anyone in my team, Danielle's team, Lynn's team, we're here if you need us, but we're certainly not going to be pushing anything on you in any shape or form. So I'm very conscious of the time, and I'm really grateful for you giving this. Just a couple more if we can. One of the things I wanted to also talk about was the price. Now, obviously, the price varies in the different countries because you've got to ship it into different markets and things. But a lot of people, they're used to a lot of marketing of things that are very cheap, etc. So obviously everyone's definition of expensive is completely different, and a lot of it depends on what your priorities are. You know, if you've got a serious health priority, then suddenly your priority list of what you spend your money on changes. But have you got any advice for people when they're looking at the price point and what they're choosing to spend their money on?
I do, and especially now, everything has gotten so expensive. I mean, food, gas, electricity, it's crazy what the world is going through right now. So everybody is looking at where they're spending their money. So the first thing is, you know, what are they, when they say it's expensive, what are they comparing that to, right? Are they comparing it to all the supplements they're taking? Are they comparing it to their grocery? It's important to know what you're comparing it to. You know, supplements can be very expensive, and supplements, you don't know what you're getting. I've done some workshops on supplements. I've worked with a lot of people in the supplement industry, or practitioners who work with supplements. And unfortunately, it is a multi-billion-dollar industry, multi-trillion-dollar industry, where there's so much disinformation. Absolutely. So I would look at, you know, are you spending money on a lot of supplements? Because it could be that those supplements are not the quality you think they are, and you're not only wasting money, but you're putting in your body something that it's not absorbing and using, and could potentially be stressing your liver and the organs that are supposed to be cleansing out what you're putting in. So if that's, you know, if you're spending a lot on supplements, you might want to think about, well, could I do something like this, get the foundation set, and then see, maybe there's only one or two I might need after things come back into balance. The other thing is, you know, what is the cost of your health to you? Are you spending money at a gym? Are you spending money on organic foods? I think that we have to make very hard choices in our life. For me, I believe that living fully and being healthy is a birthright, but it's something you have to take responsibility for. It just doesn't happen. Right? Especially in the world we live in now, you have to pick and choose the things that are going to help you maintain your vitality and your health. For me, I would give up many other things before I would give up this, honestly, because I understand, and I think that's part of it. People don't understand really what this is. And I think once they understand how profound it is at such a foundational level for your health, it often becomes a no-brainer. It is the last thing I would give up.
I'm with you. I'm so with you. And I think for me, I completely accept that everyone watching this is in a different financial situation. And also there will be people that don't feel this is a priority, and that is absolutely fine. You've got to trust yourself, and you know yourself best. You know what you need when, and you know what your circumstances are. So the first thing is just because people are showing opportunities, don't worry if it's not for you at all. That's absolutely fine and brilliant. But sometimes I don't think there's anyone that hasn't got someone in their life that's struggling with their health. At the moment, you know, most of us in the Western countries, we are the unhealthiest ever. We're the first generation where our children are likely to die before us in terms of the prognosis, the level of chronic diseases. And this isn't just in humans, in animals, has reached epidemic scale. And the one thing I love is there's been so much talk over the last few years about sovereignty, about taking your power back. When your physical body is back in balance, you can make so much better lifestyle decisions for yourself. And I know that to be true, because I've worked with so many people and animals over the last 30 years to see just how different, you mentioned sleep, your physical health. When you haven't got that, it impacts every area of your life and your family's life. But equally, there's lots you can do. If you are struggling and things, you might want to consider the business side of things, because you might sort of say, right, okay, I need to get my products for free. How can I get my products for free? I can share, I can refer, I can help other people get it so that I earn the points to get mine. So if you feel it's right for you, speak to someone, because we are in a time now where we have to take responsibility for ourselves. No one else is going to do it for us. We know that we've been led down a little bit of a misleading path, because look at where Western medicine has actually got us. We're the unhealthiest as a species, and all our pets are the most unhealthy with the shortest lifespan that they've ever had. And, sometimes it's looking at that good self-assessment and not blaming yourself, but saying, yeah, but now I'm going to take responsibility for myself.
Absolutely. And we're also at a time, I just had lunch with a pediatrician who lives in the area, and children are seeing diseases at rates that we never did, diseases that used to be adults, and now you're seeing them in children. So it is time to wake up. And it's at a time when, at least in this country, government agencies are trying to put the brakes on things like homeopathy and natural products and things like that. And it is up to all of us who believe in those things and want the choices of those things to speak up for it, because I do believe that we're a silent majority. And because we've just trusted, we're going along in our ways, we know the body heals itself, we're finding our ways to do that. But now that is being threatened. And I think we need to really become a little more vocal in that, we want the option of homeopathy, we want the option of the herbs and all the things that are out there. We can make that choice, or we can get the pharmaceuticals if that's the path we want. But to have the choice is really important, because, like you said, we have never been less healthy.
Absolutely. And I will put it out there to anyone watching, and this is just my personal belief system. Everyone watching will have something different. I 100% believe that we can all heal anything about ourselves through mind alone. However, I will also put my hand up, despite the practices I've been building over the last 30 years, I'm still not there. I do still succumb to stress. I am such an empath that I do take on a lot of other people's issues. I am a natural worrier. Now, I've been working on all these and I recognize them. But for me personally and my family, having tools that take that stress away and make my life easier is absolutely invaluable. So if people haven't got the money to do it, don't worry, you can do this yourself. You can find methods where you can get your body to produce the extra redox. I'm just saying, I'm putting my hand up and saying that even though I believe that, I'm not there yet. So I'm happy to have the help that this is offering me and to free up the, space. And I love research. I love all my work. And so this, I must say, is a tool that makes my life so much easier and gives me a lot of relief if that's one less thing I need to worry about. Lynn, it's such a joy to speak to you. It really is such a joy. Is there anything else you want to leave the listeners with before we finish for today?
I would just say, you have nothing to lose. We can't make any claims, but this is one of the safest things that you can do because it's already in us. And I think this is what was that hit me when this person brought it to me for Danielle. It can't hurt us. We can't be allergic to it. It can't be any side effects. If you're already doing other things, don't change that. It can't hurt that in any way or impact it in any way, except make those things work more effectively. So for us, it was like, why not? That was our mindset. Why not? What if this is the missing link for you? Because it was for us.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's such a pleasure to meet you and to be here speaking with you, Catherine.
and vice versa. And we really appreciate anyone who's taken the time to listen to this. You know, both Lynn, Danielle, myself, Jane April, we are passionate about making our world a better place, keeping choices open for people. I must just say, I've just had one of the mood sachets. I adore these as well, that I absolutely adore them. They're lovely. So if you want any more information, the information links will be below. You know, the main thing is do whatever works for you. And, you know, there's lots of lovely healing modalities out there for all of us. I, for one, I love hearing about all of them. Thank you so much, Lynn. And I'm sure we will be connecting again too.
That sounds wonderful. Take care.
Bye.